are fucking buying Bitcoin a lot over there because their currency sucks ass. Sorry.
It's worth repeating, which is, Simon, there's a lot of Chinese people in China, okay? And they got money.
I don't know if that's a good thing. I think we need to stop fucking gambling, but it is what it is.
And 10 billion, 5 billion is a slap in the face.
China has so much BTC exposure, really, even though their stance remains anti-crypto.
Every second we spend talking on this, I just feel like we're getting put on a list. I get nervous, man. What would you tell folks that are applying to Colosseum for the first time?
I just hope that, we're not getting fucked too hard. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. GM, and welcome to Solana's finest podcast, Sol Brothers, with my co-host Eno and myself, Simon, where it is our job to throw you into the Solana rabbit hole and show you around in this exciting ecosystem.
Our mission is to help you stay on top of the latest and greatest that's going on in Solana, that you never run out of things to talk about. Simon, how you doing, brother? We were hanging out over in Istanbul and Dubai, tried to record an episode, and now we're back to remote recording, which is a little sad for me, but hey, we're here every Monday. Mondays are for the bros.
Mondays are for the bros, and it is good to be back in the setup to an extent. I don't know. I feel comfy here. We have our little streaming setup. We're live streaming every single Monday when we record Sol Brothers podcast, but we're also shipping episodes to you every single week. Usually on Tuesdays, there's a new Sol Brothers pod that goes out into your Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. And well, we have a lot of shit to cover again. And also, the two of us, we have been on the ground, boots on the ground in the past couple of weeks, a lot at some conferences. So I actually wanted to ask you, as well, before we jump into the official agenda here. How do you feel after all this right now? What's your sentiment? Give us a little vibe check of the conversations you had on the ground. Like, imagine you're a listener and you are working in a normal job and you're scrolling the Twitter timeline, but you're not doing what we are doing. You're not you're not on the ground talking to the people. Give us a vibe check. How does it feel right now to be a Solana insider and walking around at all these conferences and talking to the builders and people that actually make shit happen?
Yeah. I think the thing that shocks me the most, even though I should not be that shocked, is because of all the attention that Solana is getting. There's a lot more people who are interested in building on Solana. And so more now than ever, it feels like there are new faces, especially at these IRL events. That's a good thing, by the way. It's good for our bags. It's good for the ecosystem. It does make me feel a little out of place, though. I mean, that's just more of a personal note. That has nothing to do with what's actually good for the ecosystem. But there's so many new faces, and I'm having a hard time figuring out who's here for real and who's a tourist. And so it almost kind of feels like I'm rediscovering Solana again, because like we're in a different growth stage now. I don't know whether or not you felt the same. What have your experiences been at the events?
I can confirm that for sure. Whenever I see a lot of new faces at the same kind of conferences that have been last year, there's an influx of new people, right? And I hear it from my friends, like you and other people have told me the same thing. But I think it's bullish, right? Obviously, if you are a thriving ecosystem, you attract all sorts of people, right? You also attract people that extract or are trying to extract, but you also attract a lot of value adding people. And I have had great conversations with completely new projects that are super interesting. Like I talked to all these kind of builders that are trying to build better launch pads because they've seen what we're trying to do here. We had all these launch pad things coming up in the past weeks. Pump.fun, obviously the OG, and then we had Radium do their own thing. We had even if you remember, Meteora did the M3, where they tried out to kind of build in that sector as well. But this kind of as usually lost a bit of the attention it initially had. Radium is doing its own thing obviously as well with the launch lab. And then Bonk came out, but I hear there's like some projects actually right now in Solana that are trying to still innovate on that sector, which is interesting. So I think that was one of the things that I think we can still improve on. And I saw a lot of good builders. And obviously the intersection of AI and crypto remains interesting, bro. Like I think there's still a lot of builders that I talk to that are trying to revolutionize the trading game with AI-based signals. Basically, you get your virtual agentic quant that tells you GPT interface, and it tells you all about on-chain metrics. It has like a direct access to on-chain data, and it tells you exactly what signals are in the market, right? And basically a much better version than Simon at Sol Brothers, because it has direct access to all the data, and I'm just a human that is scrolling the Twitter timeline and looking at charts, right? So all these kind of things make me extremely bullish. So I think there's stuff is happening, but I have to say, and I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but I have to say investors and people that are holding wealth in crypto are a bit under the weather. They're a bit confused. They don't feel, people are not super bullish right now. They're bullish, but they're also a bit confused because we're living in this kind of strange time right now. And I think people are trying to make sense of the next steps, and no one knows really what's going to happen.
If you're smart money, you don't want to be allocating right now. And there was a lovely panel over at Crossroads that was staffed by a bunch of VCs. My favorite VC on that panel, even though I don't like VCs all that much. Sorry, Max, I do like you. Max is a friend of ours, by the way. Really great guy. But there's a Crypto Carl. He's an OG monkey, like OG monkey. And basically what he was saying is that, look, last few months have been super slow because we're looking for more clarity with the macro, right? Like if I allocate, $1 million right now and there's a trade war, what does that mean for me and my timelines to exit? But at the same time, he said that the valuations, because it's slowed down a little bit, are more sane. In the past couple of years, you've seen some pretty insane valuations, teams raising quite a bit of money. So I feel like, it's a bit slower right now in terms of just total allocation in the ecosystem. And same with retail as well. But you do see a few bull market signals, right? With the Pump.fun launch, I've seen people trying to pump tokens to 100 million, which is interesting because it happened like that during the last AI run right before Libra. There was this period of time where it feels like every token was pumping to 250 million. Do you know what I'm talking about, Simon? Do you remember that period of time?
Yeah, strange period of time. Lots of inflows.
Yeah. No, everything was pumping. In retrospect, definitely maybe the bull market.
Honestly, even right now, we still record hundreds of millions of 24-hour volume on Pump.fun tokens. They're not even graduated yet, right? So there's still a lot of people even gambling. If we still have hundreds of millions of dollars in the gambling sector of crypto, in pre-graduation tokens from launchpads like Pump.fun, that means people are still willing to chip money on the ground. And also related to your past destination where you went after Dubai. I think you went to China, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
You went to China,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I also can tell people that in the past weeks, Chinese whales have been accumulating a lot, and it has been recorded on chain, especially through Binance and OKX. Sorry, there have been quite a few of buys in BTC. So somehow Chinese money finds its way into BTC right now. And it could be related to the fact that China obviously is struggling a little bit right now economically. So they're increasing the M2 money supply, which you usually do as a economy, as a nation economy. You need to increase your liquidity when times are hard. We're kind of waiting for that on the US market side of things as well. But obviously all the tariff news and all that shit, it really killed the renminbi in, what's it called? Renminbi, I think. Whatever, the currency in China.
Renminbi.
What, this thing. And I always mix it up with the Chinese yen, with the Japanese yen. So it went down a lot. It lost a lot of value after the tariff news launched. And then two things happened. I think Chinese population starts to chip into Bitcoin because they're looking for it happens all the time when currencies lose value, right? You saw it in Turkey. People are fucking buying Bitcoin a lot over there because their currency sucks ass. Sorry. And then now we have China, and Chinese currency even right now struggling a lot. People are buying Bitcoin, but whales are especially active because they have an easier time right now to find money because liquidity goes up. So we see it's interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I think China as a government is still very restrictive when it comes to cryptocurrencies. They're still anti-crypto, if I'm not mistaken, despite Hong Kong.
It's really weird because the open secret for anybody who's building is that you want Chinese liquidity. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that we know that plenty of Chinese whales and citizens are investing in crypto. But I think as it pertains to state policy, definitely a no.
Yeah.
They do monitor that type of stuff, and they would prefer that you do it all through a sex. But I don't feel like I could say more about this topic without maybe getting into trouble in the future. So I'm just gonna. I don't know. I mean, like, there's a part of me who's like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna say what I want, and other times that I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to get put on a list. So,
Right.
but you know what I'm talking though, right? Like builders openly talk about Chinese liquidity and like where it comes from and the
Yeah.
vibes around it. So yeah, I would just keep it at that.
But what's a fact is that if Chinese money finds its way into Bitcoin price go up. Like that's a fact,
Yes.
because we need buyers, net buyers, and Chinese government is still the second largest holder. Let me just double check that. Chinese government is still the second largest holder of Bitcoin, which is insane to me. Just to iterate on that as well, after the US, because obviously from seizures and so on, they didn't really talk. They never talked about actively buying any BTC, but still they have a lot of that asset. So there's if money's on the table, there's an interest in the price as well. They're holding approximately 194,000 BTC, valued at 17.6 billion as of April 2025.
Wow.
The second largest government Bitcoin holding. And I think people sometimes forget that that China, the government of China, has so much BTC exposure, really, even though their stance remains anti-crypto. A bit weird.
Well, let me just put it this way, right? There is no super team China for a reason. There is, however, another organization called Solar, and Solar is pushing crypto, or Solana specifically, in China. But the things that they're allowed to do with Solar are very, very different from the things they're allowed to do with Super Team. And so that's why they've kind of segregated the organizations. There are also reasons why in the past there is no like Super Team New York or a Super Team West Coast. Now we have Skyline, and then we have All Might in Texas. With Skyline in New York, All Might in Texas, and I think that they're trying to build out an organization in San Francisco. But to be clear, it's not a part of Super Team. And again, it's all based on regulation and what the lawyers are saying. And so, there are certain markets where we are a little scared of the regulators, and we want to make sure that we don't run afoul of them. And so China and US are two jurisdictions for that. And I wrote this in the group chat, in a random group chat I was in, and this is going to sound a little obvious, but I think it's worth repeating, which is, Simon, there's a lot of Chinese people in China, okay, and they got money. So the US is not the only market, is my point, and that we should definitely talk more about China and how and Solana's relationship to China going forward. And this isn't just because I was in China literally yesterday.
Well, but it helps. It helps to be on the ground. But definitely a market that we don't want to forget. And in the live stream right now, we got Will chipping in. GM Will, good morning. It's true that crypto is definitely, like, the government in China is anti-crypto, and Hong Kong, I think, so far has been a very open jurisdiction when it comes to crypto. So I think the most crypto-related companies and also crypto-related OTC buys and peer-to-peer transfers and so on, they are most likely happening in Hong Kong. Because obviously there's a relation to China since a while, but it has its own little jurisdiction over there. But that's just, I'm an outsider.
Every second we spend talking on this, I just feel like we're getting put on a list. I just feel, I get nervous, man. I get really I don't mess with governments, bro.
I'm not from China.
Moving on.
What else? What do we got? What do we got from me?
So this little doozy over here, I love this. This is some little bullish news. Solana leads public chain activity rankings with over 26 million active addresses. Unichain, Tron, BNB Chain, and Base follow in the top 5. The amount of active addresses in the last 7 days is 26 million. And of course, this is a vanity metric. I'm sure Mert would look at the stat and roll his eyes and be like, oh my God, this means nothing. But at the same time, I think it is at least... it might not be one-to-one correlation in terms of like, health of the chain and activity on the chain and where we are in the cycle. But at the very least, we can say with a very straight face that Solana is alive and kicking and well, and it is used very heavily. So that is a very bullish stat. I love to see it. Look at these stats over here. Solana with 26 million active addresses in the last 7 days. Unitrain, I've never even heard of them. I must be dumb. 5.8. Tron, 5.47 million active addresses, and so on and so forth. And so, that's almost like a 5x. And again, I'd love to look more into the data and see whether or not that actually means anything. But yeah, that is quite bullish. That Solana leads public chain activity in terms of just active addresses.
First of all, this is how you can identify a Solana degen that hasn't been paying attention to other ecosystems if the person doesn't know that Uniswap has a blockchain. But yeah, Uniswap has a blockchain since a while now, and it's called Unichain. And obviously, Uniswap, as the Jupiter on Ethereum, they have a lot of traffic, right? So that's why they do have a number. And secondly, like really like honest thought on those numbers as well. Honest thought on those numbers as well. I think what you can do, it's true, it's a vanity metric, because you can't look at these numbers and be like, oh, we have so many users on Solana, we have 26 million humans transacting, that's amazing. You cannot do that, right? Because there's a shitload of bots that are active on chain. So we have no idea who's who, right? But what you can do is you can put it in relation to other chains. So if I look at the number, because the Unichain is also a vanity metric, and Tron is also a vanity metric. So I look at the other numbers and I'm like, oh, okay, their vanity metrics are much lower than my vanity metrics. That means that we have net more activity on chain, which is, you can't really argue with that. And that is a plus. That is a point for Solana.
I spent the last 30 seconds trying to think of a comeback to the fact that I didn't know that Unichain existed until, like, literally the moment where Simon fucking shamed me is the moment that I realized my error. But I'm coming with a blank, so I'm gonna eat shit on that. Thanks for that, Simon. It is true though. I was not aware that Uniswap had their own chain. Makes a lot of sense. It's not like you see people with like unicorn gear. But also, like, we only go to Solana or I only go to Solana conferences, so I am extremely biased.
Also, they're not performing that well right now. I think the sentiment is like, even in the ETH circles. But anyway, enough ETH and vanity metrics. What are some other stats that we can we throw into here? What do you got for us?
Yeah,
let's look at
this. So we have some numbers from the Colosseum hackathon. So for those of you who have been living under a rock, Colosseum is an organization that helps projects launch their Solana startups through hackathons. And so the current hackathon being run by the Colosseum team is called Breakout. And every single 6 months, there's a new hackathon, and it just seems like the numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what are we seeing in terms of the numbers? Well, so far, we have 7,000 new users and also over 7,700 registrations, which means that you have users that are submitting multiple hackathon ideas, which is quite interesting. We have over 130 countries that are participating in the Breakout Hackathon. You can see that there has definitely been a little bit of a plateau over the last week. But honestly, just amazing to see like how many submissions. The first Solana hackathon, I think, was in partnership with Wormhole, and that only got like 60 or 90 submissions. So I mean, like we're talking about a step change, a real step change in the amount of people interested in building in Solana. And of course, these stats look very, very familiar. The top 10 countries by registration, India, Pakistan, Nigeria are leading the charge. In the past, I think Vietnam has had more submissions as a ratio of the total. As a share of the total amount of submissions. The United States has picked up quite a bit. It's just very interesting to see the stats here and who's been submitting projects.
I 100% agree. And if people want to also get a very good view on the whole Colosseum activities and so on, then do follow Matty Tay on Twitter. Shout out to Matty, very good chat, who has been leading the charge of Colosseum since day zero, I would say. And he's actually posting a lot of interesting data and facts on the whole activities around Colosseum as well. And I remember a post from him a while ago. Yeah, I know. he also put some shit posts out there. What are we looking at? For people that are just listening to the audio.
Oh yeah, no. We're looking at a tweet by Maddie from last year that says the blockchain trilemma. There's all kinds of trilemmas in the world, but this one is okay. Your choices: working in crypto, using Twitter, and mental stability. You can have two, but not all three.
So where are you, Where are you on the triangle, my man? Can you sort yourself in there?
Yeah, I'm currently in using Twitter and working in crypto. My mental stability is quite low, but I'd say 3 weeks ago I was actually more in working in crypto and mental stability. I actually took a break from Twitter. Like this was like 3 weeks ago, so like I'm good now. I'm
Yeah.
back. But like there was a period of time where I was just kind of off for a second. You remember that? I was just kind of like I wasn't answering shit. I was not answering
Mm,
Twitter. I just needed like a little bit of a break because the constant fire hose of information and requests is it can be a lot.
yeah,
It
it is
can be a
draining.
lot.
It is draining. I think I'm pretty much in the center of that shit. So I'm balancing. I'm balancing, but
Oh, okay.
I go in sprints. Sometimes I go all the way to the top and I double down on Solana ID, and then sometimes I go all the way to the left and I double down on my Twitter game.
Yeah.
I'm never all the way on the right. I'm never in the mental stability only camp. I don't have
Yeah.
time for that shit. But it is it is what it is. Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Yeah. But that just goes to show that how much interest there is in building on Solana. It's very clear that new projects, when they think about like where can they get the most distribution, the answer is obvious Solana. In fact, the reason why you're here, being a former ETH builder, is because distribution is just flat out better here. I mean, what has been your experience building on this chain in the last year? I mean, I know that I'll probably save this for like a deeper interview at some point, like really diving deep into this. But yeah, would love to get your take on what it's been like for you. What would you tell folks that are applying to Colosseum for the first time?
Yes, I think you are getting a lot of support if you know how to ask for it. So Solana ecosystem ain't giving shit for free, right? Like you won't take part in Colosseum and be like, oh wow, this is so easy to build a product here. No, but the structure is set up in a way that the super teams have the single most meaningful KPI of have winning hackathon teams, right? So super teams need to produce winning hackathon teams. That's their number one measurement. And then they have some other KPIs they measure that. That means that the super team leads and the people that are involved in super teams are incentivized to help you as much as possible if you're building on Solana. So that's why I tell people all the time, if you want to get started on Solana, then go through a freaking hackathon, ideally the Colosseum one, because it's the largest one and it's directly affiliated with the super teams. So get yourself a super team contact, put yourself on the radar of them, secure yourself a spot in Colosseum, find someone to build with, and then just fucking spam the people in the super team and tell them, look, this is my idea. What do you think about this? Who do I talk to? What are some people I need to be active on Twitter with so they can, see what we're doing already? Um, take part in all the advisory calls they organize within the team. Go to the build stations, IRL. There's so much that you can do if you are able or if you are willing to push, and that's only possible on Solana.
Yeah, I think that advice is the best advice that anyone can get. The super team leads are your shortcut to the larger Solana community. They are extremely connected and value aligned with you. They want you to win, so that they can get more love, care, and attention, for their local chapter. So definitely recommend that you sign up to your local super team and obviously go to the IRL events. That will be a great service to you. And also, you can raise money. There's millions of dollars, I believe, in funding that is available. So, yeah, definitely check out the Colosseum Breakout Hackathon.
Aren't you curious about Solana price action? Don't you want to know where Solana
Oh,
sits right now
no!
and where we're going?
Oh, no! What happened? Yes.
We talked about the important stuff, which was related to Solana price, right? Solana action on the chain, macro, and so on. But please do click the button, Eno, and pull up my screen on the left side so that you will
Absolutely.
see what I'm seeing. And let's take a quick look at the charts right now. And let me give you all the update where we're at, because Solana is right now trading at $146 on the 5th of May. Welcome to a new month, everyone. And Solana is looking not too bad. It's looking not too bad. All right. We have been we have been consolidating in this area where we are right now between $130 or $140 and $160. So we've been going sideways since a while, and we can also see that volumes are quite huge in that sector here, and that means that there's usually a lot of sideways action, right, to be expected, because lots of sales, a lot of buys in one area. But I think we don't want to know where we are right now. We want to know where we're going. So let's take a look at the chart and what it tells us as of today. We have seen the local low. Maybe we've seen it at 100. No, wait a second. The local low is much lower. The local low was here at $95. And that has happened around the beginning of April. You remember the tariff day, the Black Monday, whatever, all that shit. Since then, the price has been pushing upwards. And as I already told you probably last week in the Crossroads, that the impulsive wave here to the upside that we've seen after the first retracement from a push from the low to $160, almost $157, that impulsive wave to the upside was a first good sign, a first good indicator that we're actually moving upwards. And now we are potentially in this fourth wave consolidation. Usually the fourth wave is always, psychologically even, a wave that is a bit messy, that goes sideways for a long time. Why? It makes sense as well, because you have a first, attempt for an upside. Traders are in this first attempt, in the first wave, they're still a little bit, are we turning back? Or are we going to see lower prices? And then they get scared because the second wave pulls down. But if the second wave finds support, usually in a relevant Fibonacci extension area, so usually between 160 whatever, let's see here, exactly there, right? 0.618. Is usually the bottom of the second wave. If we find support there, traders are like, okay, this could be a reversal. So they get more bullish. And then the third wave is usually the wave that explodes, because people are like, okay, we're going up again. Like the low is in, and they're piling in, and then prices are pushing higher. And we saw a big increase in that wave, in the third wave. But then we're close to topping out again in the top of the structure for a wider corrective move to the downside. And that's usually the fourth wave, where people are like, is this the top already? Are we going down again? There's a lot of uncertainty in these fourth wave structures after this impulse, because, profits have been made. The wave was like really, really prolonged and so on. That's where we are right now. And I believe personally, to kind of give you the outlook for the next couple of days and hours, even, I think right now we are inside this fourth wave, and we are seeing a consolidation to the downside here. And right now we already broke, the $143. That's my last support, by the way. And we hold that support so far. If we're holding the $143, I think we're going to push for this fifth wave to the upside here. Okay, so we're going to go 3, 4, or 5. If we break through the 143 right now, I think we could already be on our way to a correction that will correct the whole third wave, which will most likely send us between $130 and $110 somewhere. And even that would be okay. If we go all the way down here, guys, then we can still, after this, see a big upside again. It won't be a bear market. It will be a healthy correction. But for now, I personally expect another push to the upside in a fifth wave before we see the retracement. And that is your weekly Solana TA.
I really appreciate that, Simon. I have one question. Oh no, bring it back. Bring back the TA. No, what are these bars on the right? The red and the green bars? I've wanted to ask this forever. I was assuming they're like buy and sell orders at certain price points, but I could be like super wrong there.
They're literally volumes. So basically, the same as you see in the down here. There's also these gray and red bars here on the downside, but they are here vertically. So they tell us basically at what price level do we see a lot of sells and a lot of buys. So for example, right now where we're trading at $146, we see that right above this, if we're pushing higher now, there are actually an increase in overall volume on both sides, buys and sells, right? So we see this that's why here's this kind of volume wall. And that usually is an indicator for us that this is an area that is difficult to push through in both directions. That's when consolidation happens. And that's literally what we're seeing right now, right? Sideways movement.
I see. I see. But then
Yep.
in this kind of, let's say the $143 range that you've
Yeah.
kind of identified as
Yeah.
an area that we need to hold, right? There's very little resistance there, right? And so it's kind
True.
of key to hold. Is that how you kind of make that determination of whether or not you need a support level? Is
That is
if it's
an
very easy.
it's a confirmation for me. My initial signals that I'm usually using is more the wave counts and the Fibonacci retracements, because they are it's not moon math. It is literally, you're looking at the psychology of traders, and that's what waves and Fibonacci levels are trying to encompass. And it works. Interestingly, it works fairly well. There's probably we could do a whole series about Fibonacci and how that shit works and why it works. But I think it's the most reliable first indication, and then I look at second indications like the volume. If there's like a risk of dropping through a certain level, I look at the RSI, which indicates usually overbought, oversold area. So yeah, and right now everything is pointing at sideways or up for now. As soon as we
Sure.
drop below this 143 level, I think we are getting closer to a risk of a bearish kind of
I see.
momentum that unfolds.
I love how you called it moon math.
Mhm.
It's not moon math. I've never heard that before, but I'm stealing that. That's mine now.
That I think that comes from the zero knowledge camp, the ZK camp. They usually use that a lot. There's actually a book
Yeah.
about moon math that explains cryptography on the ZK level. Crazy shit. But yeah, you're welcome with the term. Use it.
Yes. Yeah, it's mine now. Mine. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into the latest and greatest product updates on Solana. And
Let's
so,
go.
first things first, starting with Backpack. They have a zero fee USD/USDC on off ramp for their exchange. I think Backpack is the only exchange, in the world that's achieved escape of velocity when it comes to regulatory compliance, right? Like I don't know as
Mm.
many platforms that are going so hard on collecting these very rare licenses. I don't think people realize how much of a gigabrain Chad move this is. I think that Backpack Exchange becomes a lot more relevant in about 3, 4, 5 years time when regulation starts to catch up on a lot of these dexes. And Backpack
Yeah.
is positioning itself very beautifully by scooping up on the cheap. These undervalued, I believe, to be very undervalued regulatory licenses. Now, if we move into a world where everything is decentralized and the regulators agree that that's fine, then these licenses are worthless, right? But I think very much Backpack is positioning themselves for a regulatory monopoly.
Yeah, I've seen the team being very focused and very sharp on their decisions they make internally. I mean, obviously we covered the acquisition of the FTX Europe arm that also brought them a few licenses in Europe that they can now utilize for like futures trading in Europe and so on, which is pretty bullish. So I think the team's making good decisions. I've met a few of the team members, including the leaders, obviously, around the world, and I can say that it's a very solid team of builders there with good ideas, and the product features they're shipping, including this one, for example, is obviously also a very good customer acquisition / marketing / distribution hack that helps them to get users.
Absolutely. So very bullish on Backpack, Mad Monk. Congratulations on the new updates that you guys are shipping. So, I mean, there's also some really cool stats that we can share with regards to Backpack Exchange. So, like season 1, week 6, they have a program that's going on right now. They have $3.4 billion in spot and perps volume. And their single best performing day, 24 hours, was 610 million. And over 23,000 unique traders. I actually think that these are baby numbers. I mean, these are very impressive stats. Don't get me wrong. Like I think any protocol founder should be super proud of these stats. But if we're talking about deep in the heart of the bull market, I mean, this looks tiny by comparison. Small potatoes.
Yep, I think we can do better, but for this, the ecosystem needs more liquidity as well. For like it's a problem for all of us. But obviously, the OG exchanges we have, including Jupiter, also have the big numbers when it comes to perp trading, especially. That's for sure right now. Most of the market share goes to Jupe. Yep.
One of the biggest startups coming out of Korea right now is a project called Citadel, and Citadel is run by our very good friend Riyat. He's the founder of several NFT projects, but he's coming out with this new thing. It's essentially crypto bonds, right? So typically, like Simon, you're sitting on a bunch of solid tokens, right? Because you did your TGE like a few months ago, if not last year. I'm sorry, I'm December.
Right.
Okay, right. It's right on the cusp of that. So, right. So, late last year, you launched Solid as a part of Solana ID. And Citadel's thesis is very simple. If you need capital, usually you need to like dump on your holders or you need to dilute yourself with like an OTC deal. But what Citadel does is they create LTTs, which are liquid treasury tokens. And a liquid treasury token is essentially a crypto bond that is collateralized by your treasury tokens. It's fixed term. They're over collateralized. How it works is very, very simple. Projects lock their native tokens for a set period. Citadel mints LTTs, liquid treasury tokens. Investors buy those liquid treasury tokens to hold or trade. And at maturity, you can claim the principal and real yield. So that way, you can not only utilize the liquidity in your treasury, but you don't have to dilute your tokens and or dump on your holders. So this is a very new way for projects to get funding based on the existing tokens that they have. And I think this is very interesting. I remember when Riyat pitched this to me in Seoul, my eyes widened a little bit. I'm like, wow, how come no one has ever worked on this before? How do you receive this idea? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it makes sense, right? Because we have it in the Web2 economy and in the real world already with a lot of companies, and like bonds are being used a lot for attracting capital for running business, right? But we're in crypto where liquidity is still scarce. So I think the biggest bottleneck for Xitadel right now would be the side of the platform that provides liquidity and basically not provides liquidity, the side that is basically taking out a loan, right, from the company, because the yield will be deciding if it's competitive enough or not to make this attractive. Because we have a lot of yield opportunities in crypto, especially on Solana. So I would be curious to see what yields that can generate. Obviously, the businesses need to be open for the yield and to pay that. And then the people that take out the liquidity, they need to be also open to accept that yield as competitive. So there's a few moving pieces here that will decide right now if it's going to have product market fit here and there. But the concept and the idea is really, really cool. As a project, I can tell it makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely some, let's say, improvements that need to be made from the platform in terms of liquidity. But hey, they just fucking launched, Simon. So let's cut them a break.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just pointing out some potential problems in the future, but I'm sure they.
I'm
sure they already.
they
know these things. Like I'm not giving them any. Yeah.
Yes.
But I love the concept. Very interesting.
I mean, this kind of reminds me a little bit of. I guess a recent post by Raghulan Pati, who is the founder and CEO of Cast. And, he was just talking about how in 8 months' time, they really overtook some of their biggest competitors. So, like, there were probably like 100 different card companies that were ahead of them in the stack rank. And now they're about, by his estimation, about fourth place, right? In terms of like the best crypto card experiences in the world. And so very much looking forward to what Citadel has. And it might take them a little bit of time to deepen that liquidity and make the yields attractive, but definitely love the conceptual idea of not dumping on your users, not diluting on your tokens, and bonds for crypto makes a lot of sense. More sustainable funding for projects.
Yeah, and I maybe last comment on that topic, because I know how, I know the decisions you have to make as a company founder that has live token with the treasury and so on. Your token is a product, right? Like it deserves its own little ecosystem and its own little. There's a lot of decision making on the token side of things. So as a product, the token should also generate revenue, right? Because if you spend money on the token and if you spend time and resources on the token, it also needs to generate revenue for you as a company. And now this is where we need better options. I agree on that, because Dumping on community and investors is always a bad idea. What else you can do is obviously using things like TWAPs or like just use Meteora DLMMs to not dump on holders, but provide liquidity in single bins and then shift liquidity from your token into USDC while the price goes up. Kind of a complex concept that I don't want to deep dive into now, but we have that option on Solana right now that we can do that without that. So basically, you can generate revenues as a project with your treasury by not selling tokens, but basically just keeping like you're lowering the green candles a little bit. You're keeping them a little bit lower than they would normally be, but you're not creating red candles. Maybe that's a way how to explain that concept. And that works pretty well, but I would like to have more alternatives, and Xitadel is providing one. So I'll be looking further into that and following the project and see what other projects are using it. But enough of Xitadel. What other news do we have,
Yeah. So 1inch is now expanding to Solana. The way that they like to put it is over 1 million tokens, $7 billion in liquidity, and the best swap rates. And honestly, my reaction to this is who gives a fucking shit? Who cares? 1 million tokens, bro. And dude, at the height of the bull market in Solana, we were minting 80,000 tokens a day. I mean, like not even the bull market. This was just like a few months ago. We were literally launching 80,000 tokens a day, right? 7 billion liquidity is attractive. We'll take that. Best swap rates. I think that's a very dubious claim. I would love to see a comparison of 1inch swap rates versus Jupiter. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of caveats to that claim. I don't get me wrong. I think the video is very slick, and it's quite beautiful actually, and I think very attractive. And I'd love to do marketing like this. So I'm not even negging the post itself. Welcome to Solana. Glad to see you here. But a little late. Day late, dollar short.
Yep, interesting move. But as Solana, as Sol brothers, we obviously love when ETH projects come to Solana because it's kind of a home run for us. If we see that. So yeah, big shout out to Sergey, founder of 1inch, for making that decision. He actually attended an event that I hosted last year around Singapore token, and yeah, cool guy, definitely. Back then I didn't sense any Solana plans, but obviously the markets have decided, if there's demand for shit, and if Solana provides the better home for you, then come to us and give our competitive landscape an edge and see what you can achieve for Solana. We're open for business.
You know those disclaimers that people put in their bio, especially if they're a founder. It's like, my tweets do not represent the views of Jupiter Exchange. They are purely my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think anybody from Jupiter really does that, because the views of Meow's views are Jupiter's views, to be very clear. But but like there are plenty of founders that do that, right? Like, my tweets are my own; they don't belong to I'd say, my company. I think we need like a similar disclaimer for Soul Brothers, which is like, Eno's opinions do not equal Simon's opinions. We disagree all the fucking time. I mean, which is fine. And I'm glad that Uniswap is here as well. But also, I just kind of feel like
Uniswap.
Who cares? They're all the same. Uniswap,
okay.
1inch. I mean, they're all platforms I don't, I could really give a rat's ass about. So, but I'm just, I know. You're looking at me like, bro, like, just fucking relax. It's good that they're here. It's like, yes, they are, but also.
Moving on to the next topic. What else do we have on Solana,
Ripple offers $10 billion to acquire Circle's USDC. I am really like, I don't know how this news leaked. I don't think that there's any active conversation between Ripple and Circle for a buyout. I don't understand what this is. I find it so weird. Like, usually stuff like this leaks right before a deal is about to close, but I don't see any universe in which Ripple buys Circle. Like, I don't even think that Jeremy Allaire would want to sell Circle. I mean, his vision for Circle is so big, and it's not like Circle is struggling right now. So I don't understand what this press release is. Do you kind of get where I'm coming from?
I totally get where you're coming from. And I also, well, I mean, the news is here, ladies and gentlemen, right? Like, Ripple tried to acquire, or gave at least an offer to acquire Circle's USDC, but I don't think it's going anywhere. like that's just something we need to state here as well. We don't have any confirmation that there were any conversations internally that actually mean something, and that point towards a direction here. It was literally rejected, like already before a smaller offer. So let's see if we're gonna see 15 billion soon. But I think the thing is, Ripple has the firepower. Ripple has the money to do crazy shit like this, and it highly depends on the time window, right? Like if people inside of of Circle think it's necessary to fucking cash out and move on and do something else, then this is actually reality that could become real. Do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? And do I think this offer right now is something that needs to be taken seriously? No, probably not.
I mean, if you work in stablecoins and you're paying attention to the stats, Circle has so much upside left, and 10 billion, 5 billion is a slap in the face. It's a total slap in the face. Like, Circle is worth way more than both of those. I mean, like, we're at like what, around like 200 billion, like 300 billion in stablecoin TVL across all chains, and we're looking for that number is going to be easily like 2-3 trillion in the near term. I mean, I'm very bullish on stablecoin adoption. So this idea that like for 5 or 10 billion you can acquire the second biggest stablecoin in the world is laughable. Like, even the way this press release is written, which is Ripple makes a bold move towards stablecoin dominance, and it just feels like some sort of fluff piece that makes people want to be bullish on Ripple. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the fuck this is. Like, Circle's not going to take this seriously. Who is asking for these articles to be written? Is my question.
Yeah, I think actually you brought up a fair point right now. Sometimes we look at these news and we forget that these companies have live tokens and they have a incentive to push out news that move the price, right? Because this is how Ripple makes money, by the way. Ripple doesn't make money with anything else than the token. They build their treasury with very smart and good trading behavior and activities with their own token. So whenever Ripple pumps, Ripple makes money. And so that's their core business to an extent. So obviously they have an interest in pushing news like this. So I think we should keep that in the back of our heads. And also what we should keep in the back of our heads is that USDC, if I'm not mistaken, looking at it right now, has also is preparing right now for an IPO, right? For an initial public offering, Circle. With the valuation expected around 4 to 5 billion, but it could reach post IPO valuations of larger than 10 billion. Obviously, we don't know that, but it's realistic. So obviously, that's their focus right now. They don't really think about mergers and acquisitions. They think about IPOing and making this shit public and getting money in the bank through stocks.
I am very happy for Ripple that their fight with the SEC is over. Congratulations to them. I truly think that's a good thing for our industry. But also, your press release sucks, and your 10 billion is a joke. So stop that. Cut it out.
Fair point.
This next news is actually for our deep Solana heads, people who are going to Solana Accelerate over in New York. Simon, I'm going to see you not only in New York, but where else am I going to see you very soon?
In Toronto, if you're referring to that.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of shit happening, right, in the space. Where do we even start?
Yeah. We have Toronto Startup Village right before Accelerate and Over Accelerate. There's of course a bunch of side events that are happening, as well as I'd say sister conferences, right? Oh, that's actually what it literally says. It says sister conferences. Lol, I just stole that. So there's Solana Consumer Day, which is run by our very good friend Yash Argawal, formerly a stablecoin nerd, but now just working on all things apps and acceleration for those apps. So there's Solana Consumer Day. There's Shift NYC, which is run by our friends over at Sonic SVM. That's going to be on May 19th at the Classic Car Club in Manhattan. Sonic always throws a very classy event. Of course, we have Chainlink. Whoa, big news. May 19th. They have Convergence over at Accelerate as well. Same day competing with Shift. And then we have the Solana Spaces pop-up. I am the most excited for the Solana Spaces pop-up. It's superficial. It shouldn't just be about getting all the cool merch. I never get merch at conferences, but just the stuff that Solana Spaces makes is so unique and so high quality, and I love it so much. And I'm already broke. I am legitimately broke, Simon, but I am about to be even more broke. I might even have to borrow some USDC from you and I will pay you back because I need to get this gear, bro. Vibu, you absolute madman.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. Yeah, this is going to be sick. This is going to be very cool.
True, it is, and it's building the culture. You know, it is actually a good thing for Solana. Like you should not, you should not undervalue the power of logos and branding and real life kind of exposure to these things. It builds up a cult, a religion around this, with like the most positive sense to it, to what we're doing here, to the tech we're building as well. So I think it's super bullish actually to have that stuff. Yep.
Very bullish. So yeah, really looking forward to the Solana Spaces pop up. There's Solana DeSci Fair. I know that our friend Becca, who's leading up Skyline. You're very close with Becca, right? As a part of your time in Super Team Germany.
Yeah, not very close, right? But like we know each other, we say hi to each other. We're happy when we see each other. And yeah, Becca is a great human being that has been pushed to Super Team Germany for a long time and has now ever since moved to the New York side of things and is now pushing a lot of the New York Solana activities that we have over there with Skyline.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, she is deeply, deeply passionate about decentralized science, which I think has a lot of potential as well. To get there's not a good capital market for collecting data, which is super important for a lot of research endeavors. And so, like DeSci just makes a lot of sense. For folks, Solana Speed by our friends over at Archeum. And yeah, man, I can go on and on and on. I did not realize how many freaking events there are. There's PayFi Summit by Huma Finance. There's Drift DeFi Day. Look, guys, okay. Oh, there's Jupiter Aggregate. Our friends over at Jupiter, they have reserved a mini golf course in between the two main Accelerate conferences. Food, drinks, and music will be flowing. That is sick. You know how much I love golf, Simon. So I will definitely be going to that.
Same. I mean, I will be going. I don't love it, but I will be going, and I will see if I fall in love with golf.
Well, it's just mini golf, so you'll just be like practicing your putting, which is always
no, it is
fun.
actually fun. I love it. Yeah, looking forward to that one. Thanks, Jupiter, for hosting this.
Yes,
love it.
Yay! Mini golf with Jupiter. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So I'm gonna stop. Yeah, thank you for taking that off the screen because they were just. I mean, like literally, I'm still scrolling.
I know.
I'm still scrolling. And
I haven't even signed up to all of these. I still have to do that. So shit.
Oh my goodness, why are there so many events? Oh man, dude, I'm screwed. I have a side event that I'm planning for May 22nd, and it's just there's so much competition.
It is true, but I mean, you can pull it off, my friend.
When's Soul Brothers side event? That would be
we're getting there, right?
When is that happening?
We're getting there, right? We're building up the brand. We're building up our show here, but I think we have gigantic plans for Soul Brothers, and this includes a lot of real life activations. And you had some amazing ideas already around this. Honestly, I think now it's just a question of time.
Yeah, and also money. Like things need to be funded. Not everything is free. I mean, New York is a very expensive city, but I think we are entertaining some ideas for Da Nang, right? For Solana Summit, if I'm not mistaken. And so like I look, guys, I'm just throwing the idea out there. Like, please comment if you think this would be interesting. But would love a Soul Brothers comedy night. You know, get some of the greatest comedic minds. We'll host the thing and moderate, and you get to see some good acts, maybe some Solana specific humor. That'd be a lot of fun. We are now in the cultural section of the Soul Brothers podcast, and we're a little light this week, but we're going to talk about these two little. There's not a lot of drama on the timeline these days. Not that I'm paying attention to, anyways. But yeah, boring. But there is this one post. Come on, don't do this.
What?
President Trump posts a picture of himself as the Pope, and if like you know anything about the life of Pope Francis, aka Eduardo Bergoglio, I think was his birth name. This is just insulting on every level. He was an advocate for the poor, for refugees. And it's like the exact opposite of everything that Donald Trump stands for. If there's any Trump fans on the stream, I respect you and your political rights. But yeah, we're not going to see eye to eye on this guy. This guy's an asshole.
So I
and isn't there like a Pope coin?
Oh, bro, of course there's. I mean, I saw that post and everything about it, but what the fuck? Like, wait a second. Didn't the like just remind us everyone here? The Pope passed away recently, right? Is that what happened? Right?
Yes. Yeah. Pope Francis passed away recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
so may rest in peace, Pope Francis. And now the president of the United States decides to post a picture of himself being the Pope, and he thinks it's a good timing for that. Is that what happened?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And like famously, the Pope visited the border between the U.S. and Mexico, and was calling for empathy and mercy and generosity towards
Right.
refugees. And look, reasonable people can disagree on the migrant issue, right? Like I think there are reasonable arguments to be made on either side. Um, but that being said, Donald Trump is not, he did not embody Pope Francis's values even slightly. And like the timing, and if you're like, well, it's just the Pope, the title in general, and it's all like, yeah, but the Pope just fucking died. So
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
yeah, that's a little weird. But this tweet from Dylan from DK, you know Dylan from
Yes,
DKS, right? Yeah, no, I love Dylan from DKS, but this little tweet cracked me the fuck up. He goes, "This was a text from my dad on Tuesday. Did he know?" And he has this screenshot of of a text with his dad, and it goes, "Are you buying the Pope coin? Huh? No."
Oh my God. But I think it was also Dylan who posted his take on the picture where he said something like, uh, was this also happening before the downfall of the Roman Empire or something? Then he posted the picture of Trump as Pope, and he was asking basically, did
Yeah.
they also become so retarded as leaders
Yeah.
when things were crumbling
Sure.
apart? And I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
actually history is repeating itself here. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as we can laugh about it, as long as we're fine, I think that's actually, we can be grateful for that. I just hope that we're not getting fucked too hard. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
That amen felt borderline
it,
sacrilegious. I'll allow it,
it
but
did.
I'm feeling a little
Caveman,
iffy about the
caveman,
amen.
don't you dare. Yeah, our editor likes to cut out the bad thing.
Yes, Cristo.
Anyway, what else do you got for me?
Yeah, this is the last piece of news that we got, an update on how Pump.fun is doing, considering the proliferation of launch pads on Solana. So, I mean, geez Louise, look at the amount of money that's just been extracted from the Solana ecosystem. We're talking over $600 million worth of Solana tokens that have been deposited into fucking Kraken and not a validator. We've covered this topic ad nauseum. Pump is a very extractive team. We don't hate them as people, but like they just have no love for the Solana ecosystem. And what's really interesting is to see the juxtaposition of these two numbers, which is the total revenue that they've earned throughout the lifetime of the protocol versus the last 24 hours. Yeah. But you know what is crazy though is like perspective, Simon. There are plenty of fucking businesses all around the world that would love to earn 170 grand in a day. I mean, right? Like, let's have some perspective here. Like, it's still a very successful protocol, and it's still insane numbers. But yeah, I mean, just if you compare it to the amount of money, I mean, these people. I'm speechless. Yeah, I'm absolutely speechless. Yeah. Like I have my own personal number for what I would need in order to retire and just like fuck off into the sunset, and this number just far surpasses and my wildest dreams. I know that there are other people who are more ambitious than me and want to be Elon Musk or whatever, but like this is fucking insane amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to say they deserve it, but they, as a team, they built a product, they did the work, they hustled a lot, right, to get where they are right now. Pretty sure about that. So all in all, I think they do kind of deserve to be successful. The only thing we are criticizing is basically how they behave politically, and how they behave as a company and how they behave with the funds and so on, right? They could be more positive, positive for Solana. But $600 million, right, of lifetime revenue is definitely getting pretty crazy. And I don't know if you saw the post from Siong the other day, but maybe that it fits good in that topic at the end here as well.
Right,
Have you seen this one? Am I sharing my screen? So
Yeah, you are showing
we're
your screen.
looking at a post from Siong, co-founder of Jupiter. And yeah, he initially put a post out that said, yo, in the last 24 hours, 33,000 tokens were minted and only about 350 tokens graduated from the bonding curve. So the bonding curve
That's
is
insane.
utilized early on when the token is not yet listed on an exchange like Radium, to facilitate an automatic price discovery, right, of the token. That's the bonding curve, and it works out really well, and it has been used from all the token launch protocols so far, including Pump.fun. And usually you can chip into these early tokens at very low market cap when they're just on the bonding curve, and then once they reach 100K in market cap, I think it's that number, they will graduate, and then they are post-graduated, and they will be listed on Radium, and then they are on an automated market maker where price discoveries happen on the exchange, on the DEX. But what happens here is basically that only 1% of the tokens that are being launched through Pump.fun make it to the post-graduation phase, which is already an insane number, because that means that, well, like if you chip in early in these tokens, 99% of the time you're losing your money, because the token doesn't even make it to, if the token doesn't graduate, it will go to zero. That usually happens all the time, right? Estimated trading volume, says Siong, on these pre-graduated tokens is about 200 million in the past 24 hours. That's what I commented earlier in the podcast as well. $200 million in the past 24 hours of trading volume, and only 1% of the money that's being traded on pre-graduated token finds its way to post-graduation on Radium, meaning that, again, everyone's losing money. And also he says, how much money is lost trading on pre-graduated tokens that were eventually abandoned and forgotten every day? Crazy. It is pretty crazy, because what essentially happens here, and tell me if I'm mistaken or not, but I think what essentially happens here, because the money is not gone, right? The money is somewhere, but it gets redistributed from many people that are trying to gamble and making money here to a few people that are insiders, that are either have the technical technical savvy enough to put sniper bots and so on out to get tokens as early as possible. Because if you get it early, it doesn't matter if you graduate or not, you probably get your money back. If you graduate, you get a lot of money back. But then if you buy the token a bit too late, you're already on the bonding curve too far up. And if it's not graduating, you're losing your money. And so a lot of people are actually losing money, while a little bit of people make money, which is a kind of societal problem right now, even in the whole world. And now we're replicating this on Pump.fun. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I think we need to stop fucking gambling, but it is what it is.
I just feel like we've talked about this topic so many times, just like our thoughts on meme coins and launch pads, and it's people will go where the money goes, and that's just that. It is what it is, and they're okay with losing basically everything that they have, because humans are very bad at pricing risk, like most people are, myself included. I don't think I'm uniquely positioned to, like, I've been burned enough times to where I'm never doing that shit again. And then we'll see next year, like during the bull market, or even this year during the bull market, where if I start losing more money as per the regularly scheduled programming. But yeah, it's a shame. And tons of money is being concentrated to a bunch of bad actors, who have their finger on the pulse of what's hot culturally, and will tokenize everything. And I don't think that this is what we meant when we said tokenize everything. Like, certainly you could tokenize all the attention grabbing memes and trends, but yeah, I think we were talking about something a little bit more substantive. Like, I don't know, maybe student loans.
We do live stream every single Monday. So for people that are new to the show here, you can definitely join us in the live streams every single Monday, when the recordings for Soul Brothers podcast are happening live on air. And then after this has aired on Mondays, our team and our editor, Caveman, is sitting down and preparing the long form for the podcast to go out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on YouTube, and also on our Twitter account at Soul Brothers Pod. And if you don't have the capacity and the patience to watch this long ass interview and long form podcast with us, that's totally fine, because we are preparing recaps for you and short forms that are also on our Twitter timeline. So this is the call to action. Please make sure that you're following Soul Brothers Pod on Twitter so that you don't miss these beautiful episodes with us, short forms and long forms. And also feel free to already follow our YouTube account, also at Soul Brothers Pod, where we put the whole video, obviously with the visuals and screen shares and so on, out as well, and the timestamps included. So you can also follow us there. Or if you're a podcast listener, Spotify and Apple Podcast is gonna do the trick. We are just getting started here, even though this is already a podcast episode number 27.
27.
This is already podcast episode number 27, but we're still only getting started here. We have big plans for Soul Brothers, and we are pumped and hyped and super happy that you are all with us. So, Eno, I'm going to close it off for today. If you don't have any further comments, remarks, and questions for the audience or myself.
Yeah, we're cutting. This was a great episode. We still have to do our weekly recap, so you guys are about to see some behind-the-scenes stuff that we do over at Soul Brothers. This is not a part of the official podcast. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Simon, you want to do your normal outro?
Of course, I do not have a normal outro, but thank you for tuning in to Soul Brothers and being part of this beautiful community. Thank you, Eno, for being the co-host who you are. And we will see you all when it's time for another Soul Brothers episode next week with the latest and greatest on the Solana ecosystem that we're shipping freshly baked onto your screen. So until there, you have a good week. Enjoy your Monday, and we will see you at the next one. Peace out.
Mondays are for the bros.